What's up, everybody? Brent Axe here from syracuse.com. We're live on the Syracuse Orange basketball Facebook page. That was not a dream that you just experienced. That's real, kids. The Syracuse University basketball team, following a pretty disappointing loss to Georgia Tech on Saturday, that final score 73-59, turns around 2 days later, goes to Cameron Indoor Stadium, the toughest place to play in college basketball, and takes down the #1 team in the country, the Duke Blue Devils. That happened, folks. It's real, and Syracuse gets a major win over Duke, and we are talking about it here live with you, thanks to our friends at Krause Health. You guys get in the comments section, do your thing, whoop it up. An incredible effort for Syracuse, and we will discuss it here. Please hit that like and share button. Let people know that we're here chatting and having a nice little celebration here on Facebook Live. Wow, what an incredible effort for Syracuse. In a game, let's face it, you turn it on before you get that chance to take a sip of that first cold beverage. They're down 14-2, and Duke comes out swinging. Zion Williamson doing Zion Williamson things. They're up 14-2, and you say to yourself, it's going to be a long, long night. What's on Netflix, honey, that we can catch up on? But from that point forward, Syracuse, we're going to say the word battle a lot, quite literally in the sense of Tyus Battle, who was a man possessed on the floor. But key thing for Syracuse, not only did they get a huge performance from Tyus Battle, a huge performance from Elijah Hughes. He had 20 points, kind of tailed off after that. How about his shot, by the way? The shot right before halftime, three-quarter court shot. I don't recall. I mean, there's some fans out there who have been around for a long time. Maybe you can correct me on this. I've never seen a Syracuse player make a longer shot than that. Pearl has the most famous, half-court buzzer beater in Syracuse history, certainly, but that was from half-court. Elijah Hughes hits a shot before the buzzer from three-quarter court from the free throw line. That was incredible to see. He has 20 points, but I'll tell you what. It was two players that really stepped up for Syracuse tonight that helped propel them to victory. And one of those guys is Pascal Chukwu. Pascal, 2 games ago, benched, doesn't even play, doesn't even get in for a minute. The center position looks like it's a lost cause for Syracuse. And Marek Dolzaj was going to be the guy. Pascal Chukwu comes into this game tonight and has 10 points and 18 rebounds, including, kind of the game-capping dunk in overtime. But you say to yourself as a Syracuse fan, wait, Pascal dunked? Yeah, Frank Howard, the other guy who really came in and sparked Syracuse tonight, the lob pass to Pascal for the clincher. Frank Howard comes in and plays terrific in the second half, 16 points, all in that half and overtime. So that's the difference right there. O'Shea Brissett added 14 points. He really struggled to shoot around the hoop and didn't really have his best game, but made some plays down the stretch that mattered. I mean, make no mistake about it. This was a team effort for Syracuse. Brahma Sidibe got into foul trouble. Jalen Carey, tried to hold down the fort. When Frank Howard, by the way, who had 3 fouls, in the first, 6 or 7 minutes of the game. So you had a couple players that certainly struggled for Syracuse, but the Tyus Battle show, the Pascal Chukwu show, Frank Howard, Elijah Hughes, and what you needed tonight was a little luck on your side. Syracuse has either beaten or been competitive with Clemson on the football field the last 2 years. And one of the reasons is that Clemson didn't have their starting quarterback in one game, and Trevor Lawrence got hurt in this past season's game. Clemson still won that game, but you got to take advantage of those things. Duke didn't have 2 of their best players, and that needs to be noted. It is not why Syracuse won this game. It is not why they were competitive in this game. Duke is Duke. They've got the best players, the best lineup, the best recruiting in the country. If they lose 2 players like this, they're supposed to beat a team that struggled to shoot the ball and looked awful against Georgia Tech on Saturday, right? But as Jim Boeheim will constantly remind you, this is the ACC, and anything can happen on any given night. You play in that building. You go to Cameron Indoor Stadium, which, 2 things can happen to you. There's only 2 things that can happen to you if you go to Cameron Indoor Stadium. One is you get swallowed up in the moment, and Duke will run past you, and the Cameron Crazies will just make you want to go home. Or you get caught up in the moment. You know where you're playing. You recognize the history of the building. You take the Crazies out of it, and you see game on. For the first, couple minutes, it was the first. For the rest of the game, it was the latter. Syracuse embraced the moment, played their collective butts off, did a lot of things, frankly, they haven't done this year. But as we mentioned, 2 players out for Duke. Cam Reddish did not play. He hit the winning shot on Saturday against Florida State. And then Trey Jones went down. And as we've seen with Syracuse this year, when you don't have your point guard out there running the show. Even a team with a lot of talent has to kind of figure it out as they go. That was Duke for a long time in this game until, they kind of got back in it. And you said to yourself, if Syracuse is going to be competitive in this game, you got to just let Zion Williamson do his thing. Zion Williamson is one of the best college basketball players I've ever seen in my life, and he proved it tonight. 35 points out there. He is incredible. He is the surefire #1 pick in the upcoming NBA draft. Some people say R.J. Barrett, who was also out there on the court for Duke tonight. I don't care. Give me Zion. If you got the #1 pick in the upcoming draft, you'd be a fool not to take Zion Williamson. He's an incredible talent. So you say to yourself, you got to let Zion just do his thing and try and push Duke out and miss some shots from three-point range. Well, guess what? That's what happened. Syracuse forced Duke out. Jack White alone went 0 for 10 from three-point range. Duke was 9 of 43 from three-point range. And I'll tell you what, some of the things that we discussed beforehand, before the game, see, if Syracuse is going to have a shot, Duke's got to miss shots. And I know you say that about a lot of teams that play Syracuse in the zone defense, but that was really it. Just, brace for impact with Zion and hope they miss some three-pointers. Didn't have their point guard, didn't have Cam Reddish. Syracuse gets 2 efforts from 2 players they really needed it from, a man-possessed and Tyus battle. And what we saw tonight was a number of things come together we have not seen, namely Pascal Chukwu. I see my man Javen here in the chat, and I've got to get Javen a lot of credit. He was here on Saturday. He called this. He said Syracuse was going to beat Duke. Javen, you did it now, man. You called it. We want to give you props for that. So what you got is Pascal Chukwu, 18 boards. It can take him 7 or 8 games in a row to get 18 boards sometimes. He was great. And let's not also forget that Pascal, Marek Dolezaj, Frank, as we mentioned, Barama, who didn't really contribute because Pascal was having the game of his life. You let him do his thing. All got into foul trouble. There were some awful calls in this game. Namely, Zion Williamson ties the game at 85 with a couple of 1 or 2 free throws down the stretch. That was an anticipatory call. I hate when refs do this. You hate when refs do this. It's just completely ruining college basketball. They anticipate the call. So he's going up, blows the whistle, doesn't even get touched, and he goes to the free throw line. Now, the basketball gods interceded there, only allowed the game to be tied and not give Duke the lead, and hence we go to overtime. Even then, Tyus Battle had an open look, probably should have taken it inside. If you want to pick some nits there, Syracuse had attacked the basket all game long. Also something that they had not done really all season, and we've been begging this team to do. Get the ball inside. Look at Georgia Tech, that game they played on Saturday, when they went 7 of 33 from three-point range. You got to establish an inside game, then work your way out. They couldn't do it against Georgia Tech on Saturday. They did it tonight. And go figure this, guys. Syracuse's 3 best games this season have been on the road. They beat Ohio State on the road. They beat Notre Dame on the road. And they beat Duke on the road, the #1 team in the country and the toughest road win to get in all of college basketball. They also have lost for the first time this season back-to-back non-conference games at the Carrier Dome. I don't know. I'm like that little emoji guy. I don't know. Go figure. That's Syracuse right now. Look, there's a long way to go, and Jim Boeheim will tell you, he'll be the first to tell you that in the ACC, anything can happen on any given day, but what we've been discussing with Syracuse is you've got to get to that 10-win mark in the ACC. To be in the conversation, you've got to get 11 to feel safe. You know what? To have this win, sometimes it's not the number of wins, it's who'd you beat. Well, now Syracuse has this win under their belt. And, I said this on Twitter. This sets up one heck of a rematch because on February 23rd, there will be over 35,000 people at the Carrier Dome. There will be a record crowd, and you're going to have maybe a healthier Duke team. They'll have Reddish back. We'll see if they have Trey Jones back. It is a virtual lock now that ESPN's College Game Day is going to be here for that game. That will be an 8 o'clock primetime game. They were thinking either 6 or 8 o'clock for that. Lock it down. That's an 8 o'clock game. It's College Game Day, and it's going to set up one heck of a rematch in the Carrier Dome. And it's amazing. I hesitate to use the word rivalry, but ever since Syracuse and Duke started playing on a regular basis, think of these amazing games that we've got. The Jim Boeheim Coke game, which they showed a number of times tonight. The John Gillen buzzer beater, and now you can add this to the list. Syracuse, out of nowhere, gives Duke a push all night long, finally gets by him in overtime, and wins this game. An incredible victory for Syracuse. And 2 days ago, we were sitting here on this chat. Many of us were sitting here saying, what kind of team is this? What kind of effort is that? What kind of season is coming? Many of you even questioning whether, Jim Boeheim should still be coaching, and, the people that come out of the woodwork when Syracuse has a tough game. Now we're on the complete opposite spectrum. The lesson is you got to love sports. That's the lesson. That's why Uncle Brent tells you not to bet on sports, kids. Syracuse was a 17-point underdog in this game. That's a huge number in ACC basketball. Usually you keep it tight in ACC games, right? 17. And I'll tell you what, Jim Boeheim had a great line. He just said it in the press conference that he told the team before the game, you guys are 17-point underdogs in this game. And I'm paraphrasing here, but basically what he said was, you're 17-point underdogs in this game. You want to go out and play like that? That's up to you. Well, they didn't play like 17-point underdogs. They played like the team. Maybe that shouldn't have been a 17-point favorite, but looked like the better team out there tonight. So enough of me. We gave you some stats. We gave you a number of things there. Bottom line is Syracuse fought their collective butts off and pulled off a major upset here. I can't even keep up with you guys. I love this. The comments are flowing. You guys are partying here. I'll just kind of react to a little bit of what you guys are saying. John's saying that a great win. Hopefully this will jumpstart Syracuse. I'll tell you what. You can say that, in a way, it's a long season. It's a 4-month season, right? You've got 2 months of non-conference play, which Syracuse failed to test there for the most part. Now you got ACC play, where it really matters. What you want to look back on is say your season started tonight. Because the big thing we mentioned, and this is why you can't talk yourself into narratives with sports, because it'll prove you wrong. You say, well, you got 4 of your first 5 at home at the Dome. So win those games because you're going to lose at Duke. Well, Syracuse, we came into these 2 games, right? Georgia Tech and Duke. And we said, you know what? They got to split those 2. Well, they did. Just not the way any of us thought they would. So what you want to do is look back on this and say, your season started tonight. You're not 2-2 in ACC play now. You're 3-1 with a win over Duke. They're going to lose games that they shouldn't. It's going to be a tough league. Okay, this is not going to propel Syracuse to a 14 or 15 win ACC run. But if they can hover around that 10 or 11 mark with this win over Duke, pick up another signature win or 2 in ACC play, it's going to be what we've seen the past few years. Syracuse might be on the bubble. Syracuse might be in the discussion right to the end, but it's not how many wins you get. It's who you beat in those 11 wins, in those 10 wins if they can get there. You got Duke in your back pocket. That's a huge, huge win for Syracuse. And again, it comes 2 days after we're all sitting here saying, what the heck happened against Georgia Tech? It's an incredible thing to think about. Tom saying great coaching by Boeheim tonight. Maryland saying unbelievable. What a great comeback. Corey saying you got to love the orange. I like this. Aaliyah saying my flag is flying in Raleigh, North Carolina. Tell us where you are. Tell us where you are. When you're in the comments, where are you watching tonight? Where are you celebrating this win tonight, Syracuse fans? That's what I love about doing this chat on Facebook. We get so many people from all over the country, sometimes all over the world, that check in, and everybody's fired up on a Monday night. It's been cold here. It's been like 10 degrees. Everybody's settling in for winter, and finally winter's here. And, you needed a nice warm boost tonight. You got it. I saw somebody say, hey, Brent, where's your apology for saying Syracuse would lose? Hey, I said it. I said it today on the radio. I said it here Saturday night. I just saw a Duke team that was rolling past people, that was at home. Again, they got a little help without Trey Jones and Cam Reddish, but they're Duke. They are Duke. And they should win a game like this, even without those 2 players. So I think my man Michael Antonio in there saying, give me props for calling this game. We can go back and look at the chat. Okay, the chat is up from Saturday. We archived this on YouTube. If you called it Saturday, after that, you couldn't be any lower when Syracuse loses to Georgia Tech in the fashion that they lost that game. If you were on this chat Saturday and said they will beat Duke on Monday, then I tip my cap to you. I don't have a cap on, but I will tip my imaginary cap to you certainly for calling that. So it's a matter of how do you build on this, right? Because Pascal Chukwu is not going to have 18 rebounds per game. But the one guy that can build from this, can be confident from this, and it's not just that Frank Howard had 16 points. He did have a couple threes. He attacked the basket. And to attack the basket with Zion Williamson looming in there, against Duke, with the Cameron Crazies staring you down. Now, it's one thing to get it going against Georgia Tech. It's quite another to get it going tonight against Duke. I saw a question go by Chris saying, did Dolezaj hurt himself? I think he was a little shaken up. I mean, Zion Williamson literally weighs 100 pounds more than Merrick Dolezaj. Dolezaj is 180, soaking wet. Zion Williamson is 280. He is built like a linebacker, but he moves like a guard. That kid is one of the – I have such a man crush on Zion Williamson. I cannot lie to you. That kid is so fun to watch. And he dropped 34 on Syracuse tonight. And to say that Zion Williamson did Zion Williamson things, even step back at a 3 at one point, and Syracuse got Duke to take some bad shots, won some possessions. I'll tell you a big stat tonight, and obviously Pascal was a huge part of this. But Syracuse had 48 rebounds in this, or pardon me, 53 rebounds in this game to Duke's 48. 14 offensive rebounds. Duke also had 14 offensive rebounds, but didn't make as many shots. You know, Syracuse that went out couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat from three-point range on Saturday. They go 11 for 25, a very appropriate 44%, by the way, Syracuse fans. And they shot 44% overall. I mean, you can't get more appropriate than that for a Syracuse number, to shoot 44% from the field and 44% from three-point range. You know, you got to tip your hat to that. Pretty cool stuff. Love where you guys are checking in from. Columbus, Albany, Spring Valley, Illinois. There you go. How about South Carolina? How's the weather down in South Carolina, Johnny? We're freezing our butts off up here in Syracuse. I don't think it got above 20 degrees today, but winter in Syracuse, it happens. Oh, Jerome, Idaho. We got Central Florida repping here. We got Brian, who's in Syracuse. Good to see somebody in the queues. We got more Florida here. For a lot of Floridas, a lot of snowbirds down in Florida. Hope you guys are enjoying the weather down there. Jeff's in Richmond, Virginia, checking in. Thomas, I'm with you. I'm getting sick of refs in college basketball. I really am. That call that they anticipated on Zion Williamson was just one. There was one possession when Syracuse went back and forth, had 5 chances at the basket, and they got a score there. You're telling me there's not a foul on that? And I don't want to go over all of them because there's just too many to count, but officiating in college basketball has been very, very frustrating this year. And most of it is the anticipated calls that are happening there. More Central Florida. Karen's down in Charlotte. A lot of Syracuse fans. Hey, in North Carolina, you can walk around with your Cuse hat tomorrow. In North Carolina saying, hey, how'd that game go last night, right? Yeah, Lane saying, I like how you called him Franklin. Franklin's confidence was the difference. It was huge. Syracuse needs its point guard. They need a leader out there. Tyus Battle can be that. Oh, Hawaii. Simon's in Hawaii. Oh, we're jealous of you, Simon. They need their leader. See, what happened when Frank, you know, not only is confident and charges the hoop on offense, but just kind of runs the show, it frees up Tyus to get open shots. It frees up Elijah to get open shots. It frees up O'Shea to get open around the basket. And, you know, to be honest, he struggled around the hoop tonight, and you need O'Shea to really come through in the inside game. Had enough plays to make a difference, but overall, I think it was, 5 of 16 tonight. He struggled there. When Frank's doing that, it's the difference. I'm not going to count on Pascal Chukwu to grab 18 rebounds and play the way he did tonight going forward, but you got a much more confident player inside now. That's the difference. We saw it with Duke. As I mentioned, their point guard goes down, and even all these great players are looking around saying, what do I do? What do we run? You're looking at the bench, looking at Coach K. The shot clock's running down. How about Jack White going 0 for 10 from three-point range too? And Coach K kept letting him shoot. It was the same thing with Syracuse on Saturday. The shots are there. They didn't go. Tonight, Syracuse shoots 44% from three-point range. Go figure. I like that comment from Chris. Keep the 80-foot three-pointer in the playbook. I can't get over that shot. I mean, how many times is it Fairbanks, Alaska? What's up, Chris? How many times have we seen that? I was there, by the way. Cleveland, remember that Cleveland State game? Syracuse, Cleveland State. I forget the year off the top of my head. I think it was like 10 years ago when I forget the kid's name for Cleveland State, but he hit. It was about the same shot. It was even further back. Behind the free throw line, stunned Syracuse at the end of the game. And you just say to yourself, what the heck are you going to do about that? Elijah Hughes just throws it up, right? And, you know, good lesson for the play-by-play announcers out there and the wannabe play-by-play announcers out there. Never, ever take your eye off a play. Never take anything for granted. Elijah Hughes chucks up an 80-foot shot. I mean, of all the moments in this game, there's 5 or 6 standout moments we're going to think about, and certain players, how they played, okay? And that one's right at the top of the list. That's the number one play. It's got to be the number one play on SportsCenter tonight, right? Absolutely incredible. Love that you guys are telling us where you're checking in from. Matt in Utica, where the tomato pie is always good. McKinney, Texas, checking in. Pittsburgh, my man Javen. He called it. You called it, Javen. Nancy, checking in, saying, let's go Orange. Love the Orange. You guys are happy tonight, and you should be. That's a really good win by Syracuse. But, again, you settle in now, and the highs and lows, the waves of a season. How does Syracuse build on this? That's the thing. It can't just be a flash in the pan. It's got to be a team that comes together from this, that's more confident from this. You know, Jim Boeheim got a little, I don't want to say testy, but, you know, he fired back at the press conference just now because he's tired of the narrative that Syracuse doesn't play hard in certain games that they lose. People always revert back to that. Well, they didn't play as hard. Well, they didn't against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech clearly out-hustled, outplayed, and outsmarted Syracuse on Saturday. And Syracuse missed 24 three-pointers. So that certainly doesn't help matters much, okay? But Boeheim really fired back on that narrative tonight. This is a team that played – they used Cameron Indoor Stadium, the energy of Big Monday, to their advantage. The challenge now is you've got to play games like Saturday against Pittsburgh at the Carrier Dome like it's Cameron with that energy. Can Syracuse build on this, continue to attack the basket the way that they did? Again, not 32 points for Tyus, 18 points for Pascal, but I think that's what you guys have been looking for, right? You guys have been looking for a team that plays with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, charges the basket, inside-out game, takes smart shots, and you can live with that, right? I think that's why a lot of people, Fez in Iceland, tell me you're in Iceland. That is fantastic right there. Always wanted to go to Iceland, by the way. That's what Syracuse fans want to see, and I think that's why you loved last year's team, right? Because they're down to 5.5, 6 guys, and they had no choice but to play their butts off. Tyus has to play every minute of the game. Frank had to play every minute of the game. O'Shea had to play every minute of the game, and you really appreciated the effort that this team gave you, even though you look on the bench and there's no one there. This is a deeper team. Now, you've got a couple of freshmen, and Jalen Carey and Buddy Boeheim still coming around. A lot of you guys have been wondering about Robert Braswell. He's just a young guy learning his way. So yeah, there's more depth, but you still have players kind of learning where their place is here. So you really count on Elijah, Tyus, Frank, O'Shea to step in and lead the way. And they've been doing that for the most part, but it's really been, you're counting on 3 guys with Frank Howard occasionally contributing. Can he build on this? Can he finally find himself as a point guard and a leader out there? So it is a great win. Syracuse has a few days to take a deep breath and really build on this. And that's the big question, because it is January 14th. We got a long way to go here. We're 2 months away, just a little less than 2 months away from the ACC tournament. So a lot of basketball to be played, but boy, one that came out of nowhere tonight after Syracuse loses to Georgia Tech on Saturday. So you guys enjoy this. I'm going to go do some writing. I hope you can check that out tomorrow on syracuse.com. Mike Waters and Donna DeToda, the great Dennis Nett, our whole crew is down there ready to give you some coverage tonight and tomorrow that I hope you guys can check out on syracuse.com as well. If you missed this chat live, and we're glad that all you guys checking in from wherever you were here tonight, just know that we're here after every Syracuse game, here on the Syracuse Orange Basketball Facebook page, here live, thanks to Krause Health. If you do miss it, though, we put it on YouTube, so I would suggest you subscribe, Syracuse Orange Sports on YouTube. I put it in my recap on syracuse.com as well, so if you want to watch the chat another time, it's almost kind of like a podcast version of this chat. We do put it up on YouTube, but glad you guys were here live tonight. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy this win. Soak it in. I didn't see it coming. You didn't see it coming. I think even Jim Boeheim, deep in his soul, didn't see it coming. But you got to love sports because things like this can happen. Syracuse knocks down Duke in overtime, 95-91. Thanks to Krause Health. Thanks to you for hanging with us here. We'll talk to you again Saturday after the Orange take on Pittsburgh here on Facebook Live. Thanks, everybody.